Alright guys, so today I'm just having a bit of a play around, just a bit of fun really. I love sci-fi and all that, as I'm sure most of you do. It's kind of the reason I got into 3D and visual effects really, but it's not something I get to do much really. So, just setting up a little basic scene for a bit of fun today. I've got this dude, and he kind of gets like some sort of particle stuff going on floating around him, and he shoots through a wall. It's all dynamically done, so there's no hand sort of keyframe animation and that. I've just stuck a little camera in there as well, just for a bit of drama. So we could, we don't have to use a 3D model for this. We could, or you could, just shoot one of your friends or yourself on a bit of green, or on a fairly plain background, and just key it out in After Effects. Bring it in, and you could just animate the emitter to the hands, and you could do some camera angles around it, obviously, but it'll be a 2D. It'll be on a 2D plane, won't it? So you know your camera angles will be limited, but you can still get a bit of this going on. So maybe just a thought for something you might want to do. So yeah, I'll just show you the setup really. Let us begin from the beginning. Bosh, oh my god, it's gone. So I'll see how quickly I can do this, and you can follow along if you want. So let's just create a wall quickly. I might create a smaller wall than we had before. Just going to go to the side, duplicate that across. I'm going to leave some gaps because we're going to have some sort of issues with the end dynamics if they're all butted right up against each other. We'll come to that, and I'm just going to combine these, duplicate them across again. Do the same again. Combine that. Duplicate that up. And just offset it like bricks. Would offset. Combine again. Oops, don't feel combine there. Mesh, combine. Duplicate. Combine again. And maybe one more. Yeah, that'll do. Just combine all that. Just get it in the scene, bring it back there. Now I'm just going to edit, delete by type history. And I'm going to freeze transformations, and I'm going to send them to pivot. So we're nice and clean, and we've got a wall. Okay, and I think I might just apply some really standard boring shader, but just so we can see the wall a bit better. Cool, so we've got the wall. Right, next up let's bring in our character. I'm just going to go into the visor, and we're going to browse to the mocap if the visor ever opens. Yep, there we go, mocap examples, and for this example I'm going to use this fight one guy. Okay, so let's just find his locator so that we can scale him down. 0.001. Just going to come in around here. So I'm just going to shift him around. I'm going to offset his animation so that we don't see all of the beginning animation. I just want the action part. All this bit. That's the bit I want. So let's go to the graph editor, move the dude selected. We should be able to get all of the keys up. And with all the keys up, I'm just going to pull some of the animation back behind frame 0. Just check where we start. Right, so a little bit too much there. So look. Bit more. That's it. That's what I want. 5. Okay, so got a dude there, and he's ready for action. You know, I'm going to pull him back. I'm going to pull the animation back just a little bit more because I want to see some kind of magic growing. Oh, I've gone a bit too far back. And I do. Let's put them back here. So we've got a guy, we've got a wall, we've got a floor. So the next thing I think I want to do is, before we set up dynamics on this, I think I want to set up the particles on this guy. So let's go to NDynamics menu, NParticles, and I'm just going to create a emitter, which is here. And I'm going to snap it to this first joint, like so. There we go. And with that selected, I'm going to shift select the joint. I'm going to hit P for parent. So that should now move around with his movement, exactly what we want. And if we go into the outliner, we can see that right at the very bottom, here's our emitter. And we can start to play around with that. So first off, with the nucleus node, I'm going to turn the gravity off. And I'm going to go into the particle. Sorry, I'm going to go into the emitter. And let's just have a look at the animation. Right, I want the everything before frame 32 to not be emitting anything. So I'm going to set a key there, and everything after that I'm going to stick this up to about 500. Let's set a key there. Okay, that's cool. Bosh. Okay, so we're going to need some like initial velocity to get these particles to start moving off in Z. So I'm going to go into the particle itself. I'm having a little browse around. There's so many options in these things, I can't quite remember. So let's start with a local force Z. Let's stick it to 2 and try like. Yeah, it's starting to go. So I'm going to put that at about 2,000. And I want some serious local force. Maybe not that serious. Just lose a 0. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's try 1. That'll do for now. So we've got our particles going through the wall. And now I'm just going to change the type of particle we're looking at. So I've been using streaks. You can use whatever you like. I like streaks just because it's a bit old school, retro, Dragon Boy. Bosh. So some fun things we can look at. Hang on, let's just get some. Let's get a towel size up. I'm just going to do a negative value on that, so it goes off in Z, and we can play around with the opacity of that. Yeah, we'll play around with the colour in a minute, but I just want to show you in the emitter, if you play around with the max distance, we get some really different effects. So if I make it that much bigger, I'm going to get like loads of power coming out of him. Just turn up the min distance as well. You see how it's starting to spread out in Y both directions, so it may or may not be the sort of effect you're after, but quite fun. Again, we could have a second emitter in here as well, emitting a different stream within that, so we've got some magic stuff going on here. First, boom, I quite like that, but for now let's just start with the initial stream. I'm just going to bring it down a bit. So obviously the speed is the speed of the particles moving. I think I'm going to leave them as they are. And I really like the way his hand shakes, wobbles around while he's doing it. Looks like there's a load of power coming through it. So as he's putting his hand back, I'm just going to set a key there, middle mouse, drag across there and put that back down to 0 and set another key. So he's done. As he pulls it back, it comes off. Could be a bit earlier, but let's leave that for now. So that's cool. I did a secondary emitter as well, which is kind of creating the just some kind of power up look around his body before he shoots that stuff off. So let's just go to the NParticles and create another emitter, and I'm going to snap that to one of his waist joints, select it, let's get it out on our open, let's go to this new emitter, select the joint above it and hit P. So that's now dropped down into joints hierarchy, and if we press play, got loads of balls coming out of his stomach. Now I think what I want to do for this is I'm going to grab the emitter and a second particle, and I want them part of a different nucleus system so that I can play around with the gravity and stuff on that nucleus without affecting the gravity of this particle system. And that's fairly easy to do. It's just go up to end solver, assign new solver. Okay, so now if we play out, the particles should just drop down. Cool. That's fine. I'm just going to take gravity off. And I'm just going to select those particles, and I'm going to change these to streaks also. And I kind of just want smaller streaks really. Something like that. And I want them to follow him. Let's set up the animation on those. So I kind of want those to start straight away really. And continue till it's done. And start killing them off around here. Down to 0. And I want to take the speed down. Maybe not that much. There we go, a bit magic-y looking. Let's change the max distance a bit. Let's speed up a little bit more. Okay, well I'm going to want some more particles than that coming out of him, so just going to select that second emitter and go to the animation editor, graph editor, should I say. I'm just going to grab the top frame and pull that up because that's going to bring up the amount of particles. Okay, so it's going to go into the particle itself, and we're going to look at the conserve and the drag and the damp. So I'm going to turn the damp up. Not that much. Drag. That's better. What I want to do now is I'm just going to increase the tail size of this. I'm just going to look at the colour for a minute because I want to be able to see it a bit better. So I'm going to go with white and blue. And I think I'm going to change these from live forever to constant so that they die off once they've been created. Yeah, getting there. So the next step is these are all just coming out in this sort of omni fashion, which isn't really what I want. So with the particle selected, I'm going to create a field, and I'm going to create a vortex field, which is going to come in down here. And I'm also going to be a little bit clever and parent that to the same joint chain that I parented the emitter. So I hit P. So now that vortex starts within the same area and follows everything. Obviously not a lot's going to be happening at the moment because we haven't got much magnitude on it. Let's turn it right up and see what happens. So from above you can see that they're starting to spin around him. And we can create a max distance for this if we want, so that they don't all do it. Yeah, that's cool because we're getting some other little ones as well. I think now that we've got the vortex in there, it's kind of pulling these particles about a bit, which is interesting. But it's not the look I'm after, so just going to pull down the tail size a bit more. Yeah, obviously with this sort of effect you can see that you could create that kind of teleporting look that you get in Star Trek and that. Yeah, so for now that'll do. We've got a basic setup of both the particle systems working. And I better just save this scene before we do all the end stuff. Okay, so we've got two sets of NParticles running. Now it's time to look at the wall and how we're going to create the dynamics of this. So I'm going to use NMesh dynamics on this. So I'm going to create NCloth, and if we play it now it should just fall down. It didn't, which is interesting. Oh, that's because we haven't got any gravity assigned to the solver. So we'll just have a look at that. Let's open up the, what it's doing is picking up the other solver. It hasn't created a new one. It's probably working with the second nucleus solver. So I'll just grab that NCloth node and I'm gonna select the wall as well, just in case, and I'm gonna assign a new solver for that. So that should be running off a third nucleus solver, and so it should drop down now. Yep. Which is alrighty. And yeah, so the problem is because we're using a third nucleus solver, though, it's not going to interact with the NParticles from this solver. I'm not sure you can interact particles between different nucleuses. I will have a quick look at that. Sorry about that, duty calls. So yeah, let's have a look at the encloth and the particle 1 in the dynamic relationship editor. I'm pretty sure you can't do this, but let's have a look in the dynamic relationship editors. Attributes. Oh, my graphics card is not happy. So we've got encloth. Where are we going to? That's not what we want. So what about collisions? No. So the only thing we can attach this to is the vortex field, which makes sense because it's a field that's outside of the dynamics setup. So instead, I'm going to make this part of the original nucleus. So I'm going to select the encloth, select this, and I'm going to go to end solver, assign solver nucleus 1. I'm going to delete nucleus 3. Sorry if I confused you guys there. There we go. Bosh. Bricks are a smashing. So currently they're intersecting and doing all sorts of bonkers things. So let's address that. Let's just have a look again what's going on. So I'm just going to make the floor a passive body. So let's go and have a look at the cloth collisions. Let's look at the self-collide thickness, which is currently running off the vertices. I think I might like full surface enabled of this. And I'm going to bring the thickness down. So you can see we've got less intersection going on now. Obviously things are slowing down a bit, but that is because I'm using each brick as a mesh. It's quite not a bad little effect, that. So what I can do, thinking about it, is introduce some gravity to this wall using the initial nucleus solver, but disabling the particle from looking at that solver for its gravity. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So if I select the bricks, we'll just go to the nucleus and we'll turn the gravity on. So like that for now, and that should start dropping. Okay. But we also know that the particles that are assigned to that nucleus are going to start dropping as well, so I'm just going to play it and show you what I mean. So they're starting to angle down a little bit. But we should be able to grab those particles and say ignore solver gravity. There we go, we're going to get around this. Come hell or high water. Double check that we've got some room between that passive. Yep. So the next up is I want to create a constraint so this wall doesn't start falling down straight away, and I'm going to grab all the vertices, I'm going to do a transform constraint, which is going to create a constraint between all of these vertices. So that when this particle hits, not a lot should happen apart from a bit of wiggling. But you can see straight away that this wall isn't falling down now. So we're getting some wiggling. It's pretty neat how that, because we're using the NDynamics family, that these particles react nicely with the wall. So you can see that, there's a possibility there that we could create some opposite force before he actually breaks through, or not. It's it's going to be dependent on what you guys want to do. But let's look at the constraint, the dynamic constraint we just created. So if I go into the dynamic constraint, which we just created here, we can see that there's a glue strength option and a strength option. So we can start pulling these down a bit and see what happens. The glue strength, I've just pulled that down. So you can see everything's starting to fall apart when it gets a force hitting it. And the lower that number, the less strength there is when there's a force hitting it. But because we've got the strength up still, it's retaining its shape around the rest of the wall, which is what we want. So I'm going to bring the glue strength down a bit more. Bosh. Not bad. It's kind of working. What do you know? So let's try one more time. Ciao. Yeah, it's working a bit better now. So we can play around with the animation. We can do what I said, which is we can animate that glue strength. So let's just go right ahead and do that. Let's have a look at some frame numbers, take them into consideration. So at frame 40 it hits. So from frame 40 to about frame 70, I want the glue strength to be quite high. So let's go down to 70 first, up to 70, and key the value we've already got there. And let's go down to 40 and bring this value up, something much larger. Let's play the animation again, see if we get some kind of resistance. Yeah, so we've got some resistance. He's pushing, and there we go. It's blowing through. And you get some nice particles kind of flying off the edge. Obviously we can render this. Gone are the days where we have to rely on rendering just with Maya's hardware render buffer with particles. So I say we can render this. I haven't even checked. I don't think my software will render it. I'm pretty sure V-Ray will render it, which is nice because we can add a whole load of motion blur. Let's just press render where we're at. Yeah, you can see it's rendering, the particles there. They're rendering around the dude. And we can also get them rendering here as well. And I'll just check for you mental ray users as well. Pretty damn sure the mental ray now renders particles also. Yep, there we go. So we could just go in and try and remember mental ray now. I haven't used it for so long. Motion blur, full deformation, and motion blur by 5. Let's see if we can get some blurry features going. Yep, that's all motion blurring. So I would recommend rendering all these separate parts off it. Obviously this isn't the scene that you'd want to render, look at the state of it. But this is the simulation scene. You would this is just me showing you how to do the setup in your lovely scene that you are going to create, possibly if you so desire. But you would want to just sort of grab these particles and just go into your render layers and create a render layer from them. So you're just rendering the particles, and the same for the other particle set as well. you just grab them and create another render layer for them. And if you're doing that, you can also need to create a render layer for this guy, and you can use a matte. You can use him as a matte for your particles, but you'll probably need to add the particle layer to this render layer as well. Sorry, add this dude to your render layer as well, but make sure he is switched off to render, or it's got a surface shader on or something like that, so that you can see the particles around here and not around here. And just comp it all together, put loads of glow on it, and just do something a bit fancy. So yeah, there you go guys, wasn't too hard I don't think, and sorry if I got a bit mixed up with the nucleus solvers there, but I did kind of do something slightly different to what I was going to show you. I kind of went a step further, but yeah, that should all be fairly self-explanatory hopefully, and I think I'm going to do some more basic tutorials at some point soon, but I may also do some more advanced, and I might actually do some more tutorials that look nice. Most of my tutorials at the moment seem to be very simulation based, which, you know, is alright for many, but sometimes it just look a bit nice if you've got a bit of lighting and we're going into rendering and taking it much further. It's just me trying to find some time to do these things. Hope you enjoyed that bit of fun. Please feel free to add as many more particles as you want and just go absolutely mental with it. I think one on the floor here would be really nice. Some kind of circular, you know, if we create something like this. See, I was about to go then, and now, oh dear, back again. But if we create something like that, and then just, I don't know, we went to the side and deleted this area, then we're left with a disc shape, which we don't have to render, but we're just going to emit some particles from it, so that if we emit some particles upwards, I'm doing it. I wasn't going to do this. I'm going to emit this from the object. I'll be really quick and do it. I'm going to use nucleus. Oh, here we go, back to the nucleus issue again. Let's go with directional. Speed 1 and apply. So I hit apply now. They're all going to start floating up in the air. I'll just grab them particles and we will just go to that third emitter, turn it down a bit, turn the speed down a bit. We've gone from 1, no spread. Let's go into the particle shape and just turn this from blobby to streaks as well. And what are they doing? Yeah, they're sort of going up and interacting with all the other particles in the scene. I don't know, just play with it, man. I ain't got time. I ain't got time to play with this. I can't. I mustn't. But just go mad, you know what I mean? All the ones that just go right up in the air and stuff and whatnot. Yeah, a bit like that. Exactly like that. There you go, guys. I am going to go now, and hopefully you've learned something. Any suggestions, anything you'd like to see in other tutorials, feel free to give me a shout. If there's anything you want to learn that you're not quite sure about. While I'm here, I have to do this, and I keep forgetting to do this. This is like massively important. My gosh. Right. rendernow.co.uk, UK based firm. These dudes just did some rendering for me. I had to render sort of, I don't know, like 10,000 frames including passes, and they did an amazing job for me. I've used different render farms online before, and they've been really expensive, not very personable. And you've got a whole language barrier to get over and stuff, which, you know, usually these guys have been pretty good with that. Most render farms are quite helpful, but these guys are top of my list, and I will be using them for everything. They're not paying me to say this in any way, but get in touch with Chris at Render Now, or just email this contact at Render Now, or give them a call. But what I found with them is that when I'd sent off my scenes to them, they were then sending me back 10 or so frames from throughout the animation, to show me what my renders were looking like before we even pressed go. And luckily for me, my renders were in a bit of a state, so I had to sort of change things, and I think I changed things sort of 4 or 5 different times, which wasn't ideal for them. But every time I changed something and resent them the file, they came back and showed me some new files again before I'd spent any money or rendered anything. And on that, their costing is miles cheaper than anyone else I've used. Obviously, if you guys are over there in other countries, India or whatnot, I'm sure you guys are offering a cheaper service. But for me, here in the UK, someone I could contact without much of a language barrier, and some guys that were personable. I mean, they've even looked at my file and seen helped me with issues when I first started using proxies and V-Ray, and they wrote a little bit of code and got around it and stuff. I believe they're in the process of updating their website so that there is an automated feature towards the whole thing, and maybe a live chat as well. But they said they want to retain the personable approach, and so that you've always got someone there that you can talk to about your rendering. So there you go. That is rendernow.co.uk. Hit them up. Cheers guys, take care, bye bye.